Well, everybody, as I sit here and I contemplate this project, in the end, I have a nice looking finger engine. I think it looks pretty nice. It's not polished and there is motion. It seems to turn well. And I'm pretty proud of what I achieved here, making every single component from scratch, which you're going to see the finished completion of that in this upcoming video. However, I'm not pleased with the motion. I did not achieve what I would call a functional engine. I mean, there is some motion in there, but I think my build quality has a lot of issues with it. Things that I'm not going to fix in this final part of the video. Someday I'll probably tackle this again, knowing and having learned many different things. Things such as I really should have a larger, heavier flywheel. Use some drill rod for the shaft. I believe this shaft is also bent when I press fit it in there. I think my tolerance was too big and it ended up causing some additional pressure and caused that to be a little out of balance. I don't think my holes are as they should be. I need to be more precise, meaning I need a good set of reamers to work with some of these tolerances. And in the end, I did make all the parts to spec, but there are some things that I would change as I work through this first build. I would make the post taller. I would make the shoulders on the screws a little bit longer so that they stick out a little farther from the back, so I can oil those and keep, some surfaces spaced out. There's just a lot of little things that I would do a little differently on a future build. However, I think it turned out very nice. I'm very proud of this just because of what it took to build it, and it really looks nice. The thing does have movement and it works for the most part. It just doesn't get zinging around like you would hope. So with all that said, I just wanted to throw out a disclaimer at the start of this video. Yes, I learned a ton. I look forward to the helpful comments that are going to come at the end of this video, and that will hopefully help me in the future for the next engines that I tackle. So with that said, I'm going to get on to some other projects, and I hope you enjoy this final episode of the N.A.M.E.S model finger engine build. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Deez, this is my workshop, and today is going to be part 4 of the N.A.M.E.S model finger engine build. Final assembly, it'll be the initial assembly, test fitment, tweaking, cleaning up the parts. We'll see how far we go. I just want to get all the markings and all that stuff off the parts as best I can and do a final build assembly. We're going to test it all first because I'm sure there will be some tweaking that I have to do, some other parts that might need modified. Make sure it's functional, make sure it's all working, and then we'll do a final assembly to the completed project. So, hope you have been enjoying the project up until this point. I know I have. There's been, it doesn't seem like a lot of parts, but it really takes a lot of time and thought to work through all these parts. Those 3 screws that I just made in the last video, they took an incredible amount of time. You got to do a lot of thinking, you got to figure out your order of operations, but in the end it's very satisfying to have made every single component that's going to make up this engine. I just hope the thing works, but that's what we're going to find out in this video. So without further ado, let's get started and do our first initial mock-up and see what kind of tweaks we need to make before we make the final assembly. Well, here we are. Again, there's a lot of information in this instructions that have been modified, kind of left up to interpretation. I do believe this is a mistake. The inside diameter is supposed to be 250 thou. They say 25 thou. 25 thou is very small. That is the width of this. That would be an awfully small hole. So that has to be a mistake. Not exactly sure where to put the washers because there's so many parts, but I got an idea. I may make more, I may put them in the wrong spot, but we'll figure all that out. They're really, once you finish the parts, there's only some notes that kind of guide you through a few steps, but there really is just to make a base. So I already have a plan for a nice finished base, but I don't want to use that for my test fit. I'm just going to use this hunk of scrap wood. The reason I want to figure out my spacing for these screw holes and make sure that stuff works fine. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of make a template out of this piece of paper and just kind of mark it where those holes will be. And that's where my through holes need to be in this base. And we can do the same thing for the actual unit. So this is going to be how we're going to approach that. There's our 2 holes. So we need to get those 2 drilled. And that's going to be the first thing that we work on is the stand. We want to get this mounted in here and start our build and find out what we need to tweak, if anything. Like I said, this is just going to be rough, but I did need to counter bore those in order to be able to make my screws fit. I don't have longer cap head screws. But this is going to be the base. Let's see if this will mount in here. That's going to be step 1. I went ahead and made it large enough for some additional washers. There's one. Get one started. Hopefully our holes line up with our paper trick that we used. And they do. we're going to end up using Loctite for the bearing. That will go in, and it should be flush on the front. We'll try to press fit that and use Loctite for that. It'll go the other way. But it'll go pretty much flush like that, I believe. Maybe we'll make it a little proud so it'll space out the crankshaft. Actually, we'll put the finger tab on first. Be pretty exciting to see the first mock-up of this after all the time I've spent making all the components. Like I said, it took a long time to get to this point. There's that, and I may tweak this a little bit more. I may counterbore that a little bit more as well. The next thing will be the lever, and there's a washer there. I'm going to go ahead and put the washer on the back side of this to act as a spacer between the post and the lever. Get in there. We'll just loosely tighten that up. The next thing will be, we'll put our connecting arm on, and I believe we'll have another washer between the two metal components there. Same thing. That's where that will go, and it will connect into our cam. Maybe. Twist it in there. Alright, the flat is there, and we have another cap head screw that will seat and lock that into place. I feel like I need another washer. I might make one more washer because, yeah, I think I need another washer. I want to put a washer in between the cam, the crankshaft, and the post. I mean, I could protrude the bearing a little bit, and that would provide, but you can kind of see I'm trying to gap everything. We do need to press fit this, but I'm just testing functionality. So that's already a problem. That's not going to work. We need more clearance along the bottom of this. And my connecting arm is too big and too long. So that's also going to be an issue. So it's not moving smoothly. We definitely have some tweaks to do, and maybe the flywheel would help, but we're bottoming out on this. I kind of hate to cut pieces off. I could consider making a mounting base, but even then it would be because if it starts spinning, that actually might help. But I definitely need to take some off of my connecting rod, some off of the back of this, because these are hitting. When that comes up here, it hits, and when that comes down, it hits. But I do want to press that on. It needs to be pressed on anyway, and it's time we do that. This will be fun to use. This is my dad's little Dake arbor press that he had. I feel like a piece of paper here would be nice. We'll put that about there. And we want the flat on the top, and it needs to press down, press into there. Alright, this will be my first press fit component that I've ever made and press in. Let's see how this goes. That was fun to use. The arbor press did pretty good, and you know, I still got a lot to learn on doing all this with my press fits. That was tighter than I thought it would be, but we did get it. So if we put this back in here and we do another mock fit up, and there's the flywheel. So there's what it looks like. I don't know if this is going to work though, because I've got interference that I need to clear. But maybe if we start it up, we can keep it going. Now we got to fix these clearance issues. It's not running smoothly. We got some work to do here. Before we blame anything else, I need to work on my clearance. I want to first work on this connecting rod, and then I need to take some off of the back side of this. Alright, I'm just not getting this machine to function properly. I got some tweaking to do with this thing. I went ahead, there was a couple things I didn't go by spec. I thought this arm, instead of making it 3/4, instead of making it 3/4, I had it, you know, almost an inch wide. So I ended up milling that down, putting the proper angles on this thing, and now I have the clearance that I think I need for the functionality. The other thing was the connecting arm. It's supposed to be a 1/2 inch wide. and this is 3/4 inch wide. So what I'm going to do is narrow that thing down to, I'm going to mill off some material because it keeps hitting and I'm just not getting the motion I need. So I'm going to mill off on each side some material so that we get this thing down to 1/2 inch wide. So we're going to take 125 thou off of each side in order to bring this rod down to 1/2 inch versus 3/4 inch. I think the distance is probably the problem, but I want to go ahead and see if maybe, I know the bottom of it is interfering. I need to grind some more of that off, but that's the first thing we're going to do. Lighten this thing up. So 20 thou depth of cut, we got to do 125 thou. This is a 30 thou depth of cut. I might be pushing my luck. Let's see what happens. Not sure where to go from here. I think what I'm going to do, since this is a temporary base, I just do not have the motion on this that I feel like I should have. I still need to Loctite everything in and get everything solid, but this, it will move, but I think what it's doing, I'm hoping all it's doing is bottoming out here. Now, I have a couple choices if that's the case. I can carve out more of this, but I think what I might do is actually try to add onto the base. I'm going to do some double checking and make sure I didn't make this post too short. But per these directions, this, you know, I'll give you an update. I actually had this part and this part were made out of spec from the original, you know, dimensions on this modified plan. And so I went back and I milled them down. They're now in spec to the drawing, and they're still bottoming out. So the next thing I need to do is check this post and see if maybe I messed this post up where this hole is. But it's 625 thou to the center line, a little over ½ inch, but yeah, I mean it's over half. I don't think I messed it up. I just, these dimensions, I don't know. I think this post needed more meat on the bottom. The other thing I could do is just hold it up here on the edge. Just doesn't seem right. Something's off. Okay, let's get this little part here hacked out. And we'll try again. It's over 5/8 up. So I think we are 625 thou. So I actually have it a little bit over 5/8. So I think this design needs modified. I think it's causing me some trouble. Making notes. Maybe I'll update these plans, but this, let's go ahead and get this mounted back on here and see if we have any more success with the motion on this thing. Well, let's see what this does. See if we have some clearance here. Everything's tightened up pretty well. Well, okay. Now I'm hitting on this side. Okay, let's modify this. There. We'll go all the way to here. We'll shave some of that off. Well, let's see what happens now. Nothing's hitting. Well, now I'm binding up, I think. I think I got to get everything lined up better. Get my press fit of the bearing in. The bearing's moving. That's not helping. All right, let's see. See, it's... The motion should be better. Like I'm missing something. I have geometry off or something. It should swing around and not stop. I'm sure most of you experienced folks out there that work on these things know what's going on. I might have to reach out to some of the experts and find out what it is that I'm missing here. Well, I think the issue is going to be within some of these. Now, definitely have an issue with clearance for the arm. That's kind of frustrating. So I will have to somehow modify the base. Just don't quite understand why it would be drawn that way when this arm, everything's made to spec now. So I'm going to play with this off camera, and then I'll bring you back with any updates that I have, or any ideas, or once I have this thing working. But I need to get this thing working, or there's no point, I'm going to have to machine something or do something else. So I'm not going to clean anything up until we get a functional prototype going, and then we'll get it all cleaned up. Well, I've been playing with this thing. I do have the flywheel press fit in. The motion here isn't perfect, but it's okay. None of this is perfect. This is my first engine. The motion here should be fine. My theory is that the connecting rod between the centers is too long, causing it not to have that motion where it can actually spin properly. So rather than drill more holes in this, let's go to the junk bin and see if we can find something that's kind of adjustable, where we can make a connecting rod that we can experiment with and see if that helps us get some actual motion on this thing. Then we can go and make an actual official part for it. Let's come over and check out the spare parts bin and see what we can come up with. This is where we just put a bunch of crap. Let's see. We have something like that. That's too long, but no. Gotta be something in here. You could always use a piece of wood too. Might actually be easier. That might be what we do. Yeah. Let's find a piece of wood, because we can drill holes and modify that quickly. And again, we're just trying to figure out if the issue is the distance on the connecting rod. I feel like it is. Well, the existing connecting rod has these two holes here. I'm just going to bring it in, you know, incremental in, just, I guess they're 1/4 inch holes, so let's bring it in 1/2 inch. So we'll just drill 2 holes just inside those outside holes. We'll see what happens. Let's see what that gives us. Who knows? But we got to start somewhere. I do feel like it's just the connecting rod is too long. It wouldn't be too short. It can't really be any longer. So we're going to go with the theory that it's too long. That would be a lot to remake. Of course, now we're hitting. If it ain't one thing, it's something else. Let's see if we can lift this up. The missing something. Again, you experts out there probably know already what's going on, but let's see if we can hold it here and do it. That's just not going to work. That is way too low now. Is it possible the connecting rod is not long enough? Let's go with that theory. Okay. Let's bring it down further. So if it's getting longer, let's see what this does for us. Maybe this one, see if it works for test. So a little bit longer didn't make a difference. Back to the drawing board, more troubleshooting. Well, I've been fiddling around with this thing for quite a bit, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to revert to the internet and see how other people's finger engines turned out. And there's a few really, really nice versions of this out there, and there's some that are pretty much the same as this, and they also struggle with getting this thing to run. Now, I think part of my problem, I tried different lengths of the connecting rod. That didn't seem to help. I made a new cam just out of scrap, and I tried closer screw hole to the connecting rod, and I tried farther away. Nothing seems to make this smooth. Now, I'm hoping that many of you watching, or you'll comment and you'll tell me exactly what's wrong. I know these are loose. I'm thinking that perhaps some of it it's just binding. It's not completely smooth. I got things pretty close, but I don't have these things reamed to perfection. I actually don't have a good set of reamers to ream all the holes to exact specifications. So I think some of that is my problem as well. So my plan now is to complete this. Now, I'm just going to get it mounted to its final resting mounting board. The problem still remains is with the dimensions as they're drawn and as I created them, the parts are still lower than the actual board. if you move this around, they actually touch the board. So I think what I'm going to do is find my low spots, and I'm gonna go ahead and mill some more off of these parts. This thing needs to be lower. I got a lot of meat on there, and I want to get that part of it done so that I can mount it on the board. I was thought about making a block and mounting this up, but that's not right. This should clear as it's going around. And then I'm going to do the final assembly. I'm going to use Loctite. I'm going to get my screws snug, but where they're still moving, let that Loctite set up, and hopefully everything will be tight enough that maybe I can get this thing to move a little bit. If not, we'll have a pretty cool looking finger engine, but I certainly have a whole lot to learn. So let's get on with cleaning everything up, do some final milling operations, and get this thing mounted onto its permanent base. Let's get on with it. I did grind down more of this connecting rod. I might do just a little bit more. Matter of fact, I will do just a tiny bit more because it's really close. But we're going to go ahead and start mounting this to its permanent base as well. Let's get all the parts taken apart here. Take that off. Take our flywheel off, washers, and then finally we'll take the base off. And we're going to do the same thing with this other base. So there's the post, and there's our temporary scrap. And now we're going to get all this, we're going to clean everything. This was my temporary cam. We're going to clean everything up, and we're going to mount it to this really nice base that I have. Got it nice varnished up. We're going to center our holes on here, and we're going to drill, and it'll be mounted in the center of this board. It'll look real nice, at least. It's gonna be right here. That's where we will drill for our holes. Make sure those fit. Almost. So before we start assembling this, let's clean up. Let's clean up our parts. Set this aside. That was the brass. I'll call that good enough for the brass. Now let's try WD-40 first. I'm not sure this will work, but if it does, we'll use this. All right, all the parts are clean now. We're ready for the final assembly, and I'm going to close out the N.A.M.E.S model engine build. There could be some polishing, there could be some really cool finishes that I could do with this, but for now, I'm just going to get this thing assembled on its final board, and maybe it'll work a little bit better, maybe it won't, it probably won't, but it's going to at least look pretty cool, it's going to kind of work, and it'll be my first attempt. Well, everybody, it's time that we bring this project to a close. Didn't quite turn out as well as I had hoped. I followed all of the instructions on the remade, improved version by Kaji. I went back and I double checked all my measurements. Everything is where it should be. I'm sure that I have made a mistake along the way somewhere. It doesn't have that free flowing movement, that you would expect. Now, I don't have proper reamers. I don't have I can't hit to within 1 thou of accuracy. My bearing surfaces might be loose. That could be part of my problem, but it does seem to bind. Perhaps my shaft has a little bend in it. There could be a number of things that could be wrong, but I will tell you, it looks nice. It turned out really well, and it was a super fun project to build. I was able to use these machines and follow some instructions and plans and try to hit tolerances and things like that. It was a really fun project, and it looks really nice. It turned out really nice. I didn't polish everything. I just cleaned it up. got the ink and everything off of the parts, but you can see the movements there, and it's a really cool piece that I'll be able to put on my shelf and have and know that I made it. Got a really nice base that I put on this thing. Give you a little bit of a close-up view. There's the back side and the polished base here. Really is nice. I think it's nice anyway. This was a fun project. But I do want to close the video. I want to close the 4-part series here. I have some successes. I have some disappointments. Overall, I'm pleased with what I achieved here and following these directions. It turned out just like I thought it would. It looks just like the drawing. If I had to do it over again, I'd probably use one of these flywheels here. And who knows, I may remake this thing and try again and try to get something that's a little more fluid, a little bit more. I think it's just got to do with my fitment and all of that. But there you have it. This was the N.A.M.E.S North American Model Engine Society model finger engine build. This is the original plans. I'll put a link in all of my video, all the 4-part series. The links to these will be in there. This is the original N.A.M.E.S sketch and drawing that was out there, and this was the one that Kaji, I think, remade, and it's got a little more detail. I did find a few mistakes, little problems in here. I personally think that the post should be farther. It needs to be taller as far as where this bottom screw. So basically everything should be shifted up. That's something that I think could be improved with this. There's the washers. There's a discrepancy on there on the center bore. There's no way that thing could be 25 thou because none of the screws are even that small. So I went ahead and made those a 1/4 inch. Just a few different things that I noticed in these plans. But overall, this was really fun. I followed along, took my time, and it looks really nice. I'm really proud of myself for making that. It may not be as functional as I thought it would be. It doesn't spin quite freely like I would want, but you know, overall it looks nice and it turned out well. I hope you enjoyed the series of this model engine build. I appreciate everybody watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Helps out the channel. Hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.